Hi, my name is Maria Escamilla, and I am the Hispanic Media Manager at Marketing Maven Public Relations. I will be presenting best practices using Hispanic culture to add new revenue. And we will be covering how you, as a DR marketer, can move into the U.S. Hispanic market with a few statistics, covering a few nuances, and ultimately key takeaways for infomercials, direct mail, and email marketing. Now, in order to market to the Hispanic demographic, you first have to understand who that actually is. So you'll typically hear the terms Latino and Hispanic used interchangeably, which is very common and well received because the Hispanic demographic is very diverse. It is Colombians, Puerto Ricans, Salvadorians, Mexicans, and so on. So it's a very diverse group, and that term is also used commonly because it depends on where you are geographically. The West Coast is very much dominant of Mexican descent, so you'll hear the term Hispanic used much more because it's accepted and used, versus the East Coast where there's much more Southern American and Puerto Rican and so on, that Latino is much more popular. As a DR marketer, it's really important for you to know that once you do connect with the Hispanic consumer, you can have a very high lifetime value with them because of their brand loyalty. So one thing that I do want to make clear, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term acculturated versus non-acculturated, those that are non-acculturated are those who prefer Spanish as their language. They aren't fully engulfed in U.S. society and culture and ultimately stick to the traditions of their country of origin. You'll notice that today a larger percentage of the U.S. Hispanic demographic is non-acculturated, but that is shifting with the younger generation, and ultimately in 2050 there's going to be a larger percentage of those that are fully acculturated. So does it cost more for you to connect with those who are non-acculturated? Of course it does. Like I mentioned, those are the ones who aren't fully engulfed in U.S. culture. They're the ones that prefer Spanish. So they're the ones that you're going to have to take more time to connect with and learn about what their nuances are. Another thing to keep in mind is that this community is also multi-generational. The typical household makeup is of the grandparent, the parent, and the child. And the age 6 to 24 is actually the most acculturated member of the house. They're the one that's being raised bilingually, biculturally, and they're the ones that's often the translator for the house. I mean, just as an anecdote, I can share that when I was 13, I was the one translating my father. He immigrated in the 70s, does not speak English, but when he needed to go to the DMV and sort something out, if he needed to take care of customer service, I'm the one there translating for him, handling customer service. So you have to keep in mind that to fully connect with that older non-acculturated, definitely take advantage of the semi-acculturated, who is the bilingual, bicultural member of the household. And as I mentioned, when it comes to acculturated and fully acculturated, the key difference is language. So you'll be seeing the shift that as of right now, the non-acculturated are the ones that prefer Spanish, but as time progresses and that younger generation evolves, you'll see more bilingual, and ultimately you'll see more, come 2050, those that prefer English. And with the evolution of this market, you've also seen an evolution of the media market. So you'll come to see that there's much more English language media that's actually catering to this U.S. Hispanic demographic, as well as Spanish language media. So there's Latina Magazine that caters to females in Spanish and English with news and that are relevant to things that are going on within the U.S. And one of the most notable latest new media outlets that exist is Mundo Fox, which I would consider this your guys' playground. This is the new playground for advertisers. It encompasses the non-acculturated, the fully acculturated, and the different demographics. It is a Spanish language, American-based broadcasting company that just launched in 2012, and it actually caters to all demographics. It has your typical programming that you expect. It has the hard news for the older generation. It has the telenovelas, the soap operas for the women, but it also has programming similar to what the younger generation is used to from English programming. It has the Top Chef equivalent of Cocineros al Límite. It has sports in Spanish for them. So it has everything to encompass the whole family versus just the non-acculturated or the fully acculturated. And this new wave of media isn't actually new. It's just been happening slowly, and some of the first signs that we saw of it was back in 2006 when ABC aired Ugly Betty. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with that show, but it was actually inspired off of a very popular Colombian soap opera called Yo Soy Betty la Fea, which was actually redone in over 12 different countries in different languages because it was so hugely popular. So we've been seeing the progression over time, and it definitely did start back in 2006. Now, in DR general marketing, you do your research. So you definitely have to do the same in Hispanic marketing. So here's an example and some snapshots of something that specifically Coors Light did. They wanted to expand their Hispanic demographic base, and they wanted to understand what they are talking about. So you'll want to do the same in your product category. You want to know who your key influencers are and what the sentiment is of that category so that you can understand going into it what's being discussed and who's discussing it. I did want to share a PR pitfall with you guys to show some of the mishaps that can happen if you don't make that connection and if you don't make that research. We're all familiar with the magazine Rolling Stone. In 2012, they launched their first Latino issue. They included Pitbull on the cover and many notable artists within the issue. A lot of English-based news sites raved about it. This was fantastic. It's one of the first magazines of its kind to do this. But in reality, with fans and within the core U.S. Hispanic demographic, it did not resonate whatsoever. They received a lot of PR backlash, and news sites like newstaco.com and univision.com actually published negative articles showing the complaints from fans because not only did it not resonate with them, the Hispanic demographic didn't agree with who they claimed as notable within their demographic. So who they claimed as core to the U.S. Hispanic was not accurate according to the U.S. Hispanic demographic. So this is something that's definitely avoidable, but because they didn't do their research, they ended up disconnecting more than actually bringing in that bigger base to their magazine subscription. So once you've done your research and you've made the right connections, you're definitely going to see the benefits. You can connect with key influencers, you can integrate them into your campaign, and you'll ultimately secure that connection. And securing that connection is really important because ultimately that consumer is very loyal, and you want that brand loyalty whether you're staying in the DRTV market or your end goal is transitioning into retail. So you want that loyalty with this space. And one specific example that I wanted to share with you guys of bringing in that base is when Disney was producing their movie Beverly Hills Chihuahua. They were in the process of casting, and they wanted to bring in the U.S. Hispanic consumer as someone that they would want to see, someone that they want seeing that movie. So the executives got together and were brainstorming, and in their head, George Lopez was the perfect candidate. He's in the movie industry, he has that pull, he has the influence. But what they didn't realize is George Lopez has a pull and influence in the mainstream, fully acculturated Hispanic. He has no power, no influence in the core demographic. So ultimately, they ended up bringing in Violín, who is a very influential Spanish language radio host, into the cast, and ultimately making a better connection with that U.S. Hispanic versus just relying on George Lopez, which could have ultimately given them backlash as well. Some key things to remember when you are planning your infomercial is, like I mentioned, your spokesperson has to be authentic. They cannot be your stereotypical Hispanic. It cannot be George Lopez in the Beverly Hills Chihuahua movie. It has to be someone that resonates within that community so that they're making the true connection for your product or for your brand. Also, make sure that you have a Spanish language call center or vendors in Spanish so that when your consumer has a question and wants to make an order, that they can actually connect with you comfortably in their language of preference. And also, the instruction manual, the packaging, any written material should be in Spanish for them so that they can see it themselves and they can read it. And if you can do Spanish social media, that would be fantastic. We all know social media is an open forum for consumers and influencers to talk about products, to complain, to rave, anything and everything they want to discuss. So if you give them the opportunity to talk to you in their language of preference, it's going to build a stronger connection, whether that means they have a question and you answer it and it's settled and now they're comfortable with your brand, or they want to find out where to order. It's ultimately best if they can connect with you like that. And at the very least, have a Spanish microsite, because they're going to want to go online and see more details about you in their language of preference. And whether or not that older non-acculturated is comfortable with the computer or not, they're going to reach out to the semi-acculturated, their child, who knows how to use a computer. They've been around computers their entire life, and they're going to be the ones to show them the site so that they can look at it and become more comfortable before making the decision. For direct mail and email marketing, one thing we've noticed through one of our financial lead gen clients is that Hispanic last names do extremely well through direct mail pieces. They do much better than actually Anglo last names, which is very interesting. But some key factors you have to keep in mind is the day of the week that the mail piece arrives, as well as their proximity to the event if it's a physical event. So ideally speaking, your mail piece needs to arrive no sooner than 7 to 10 days prior to the physical event or sale, if it's some sort of sale online. And also for email marketing, it's very important to be humorous but culturally relevant. So this is the situation where I would highly recommend you bring in a native Spanish speaker, someone that's in tune with the latest trends, in tune with the latest cultural nuances, and can even bring in some culturally relevant slang that will help you connect more and be more culturally relevant with that demographic in your email marketing campaign. Some key takeaways that I definitely wanted to bring up to you guys is that, have you researched your target demographic relating to the U.S. Hispanic? Do you know who you want to reach to? Are you reaching out to males, to female, to the older or the younger generation? But be clear on who you want to connect with so that you're much more prepared for it. And do you know who your key influencers are? Do you know who's already talking about your product category? Be aware of what's being discussed so that when you're entering this demographic, you know what's out, what kind of information's out there. And ultimately, if you know who these key influencers are, you can connect with them and build that relationship and have them come on board as your brand ambassador to connect with more consumers. Also, do you know what consumers are talking about in this category, what their complaints, what their loves are about this category, so that you know? And do you have a Spanish language website? At the very least, like I mentioned earlier, offer them that Spanish language website so that they can be online seeing information about you. And are you connecting with the non-acculturated and the semi-acculturated? Like I mentioned, I'm the semi-acculturated. Are you connecting with me in English and Spanish? I see your commercials on TV in English, but am I seeing them in Spanish, and are they relevant to me? Because ultimately, when my dad makes that final decision to purchase or not purchase, he'll consult me. He'll say, have you seen anything about them? What do you think? Or it's only in English. Have you seen, you know what I mean? I don't understand it. Can you help me? So make sure you're connecting with all generations, because at the end of the day, I'm the one helping to make that purchasing option, or I'm the one helping him go online, or I'm the one presenting it to him. And then if he can see it in his language of preference, it helps build that trust. So definitely keep in mind multi-generational when you're doing your campaigns. And at the end of the day, make sure that your website is Hispanicized. Make sure that your campaign is Hispanic friendly. You want to be catering to the multi-generational and the multicultural. I understand it's difficult at first. It's a very diverse community, but make sure to be in tune with that and be in tune with your geographical locations, whether you're just airing West Coast or East Coast, be in tune with that, or if you're airing nationally, so that you can ultimately have a more Hispanicized, consumer-friendly campaign. If anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to come on up, and I'd be more than happy to address them. But again, my name is Escamilla, and I am the Hispanic Media Manager with Marketing Maven Public Relations. Thank you.